This video is about how to structure a residential lease renewal provision. Essentially, what is going to be in the lease for the sequence of events that's going to happen upon the termination of the lease. It's going to talk about how to draft it, how to structure it, why we need to structure it that way, and the consequences if you don't have a properly thought through and structured provision about what's going to happen at the end of a term of a lease. If you want to see our preferred language of how this should be drafted for maximum protection for a landlord, join our real estate law newsletter, your source for real estate legal news. Okay, so why is it critical to have a clear sequence of events at the conclusion of a lease term? First of all, most states, where I'm in New Jersey, everything is very tenant friendly. Courts are not gonna, if people aren't complying with terms of lease, courts are not going to take kindly for lack of a clarity for evicting a tenant. Not that anybody wants that to happen, but the ultimate result of if you can't come to terms with the tenant is an eviction. And if you don't have clarity about what was supposed to happen in writing and the tenant had proper notice, your eviction is probably gonna get thrown out. Also, just for you, it's gonna be much easier if you have personally have a set protocol. So you don't have to scramble at the end of the lease, what am I doing? How is this supposed to work? Every tenant has the same process, and therefore you know exactly what you need to do without having to think about the legal consequences, just a machine. You're gonna serve the notices in this fashion. So important to have this thought through. One, you're protected in case the tenant tries to claim that they were unaware of how this is supposed to work. It's very concrete and laid out for them. Also, because it's concrete and laid out, it's beneficial for you, so you don't have to go through the thinking and the motions to figure out what's happening. You just know what the set protocol is for all your tenants and not worry about doing something wrong or missing a deadline. Okay, so how do you structure this renewal at the end of the term? What are the key elements here? First is the time frame that you're going to give. So first is the time frame. So there has to be so you're going to propose at the end of this lease term, the lease is either going to renew or you're going to propose new terms. So when does that have to happen? So you have to give a time frame. Like, we're going to make this proposal to the tenant a certain amount of time before the lease renews. I recommend 60 days or 2 full months. This way, tenants can't allege or fight that they didn't have proper notice. They had 2 months to make a decision about accepting the new terms or not accepting the new terms and vacating the property. So first is the time frame. Second, obviously you want to specify this has to be done in writing. So obviously it should be drafted that way. And then lastly, and here's the most critical part that I see people miss all the time, is that when you give the 2-month notice, it should be drafted such that the terms become binding upon the tenant if they don't respond. Because these people are not going to respond. You just know. If you have enough, hopefully, some will, hopefully, but a lot of them aren't. They're busy. They get the notice in the mail. And then if you don't have language that automatically comes binding if they don't respond, then they just become in this strange month-to-month period where now they're month-to-month, and then they might be month-to-month indefinitely, so now you have to go evict them if they don't agree to the terms, right? If you just have it automatically renewing and the tenant doesn't sign anything, you just start the new higher rent, you start apply the new rules. If they object to it, I didn't sign, be like, nope, you said that if you did not object to the new lease or the new terms, they would become binding. Now, if they still don't want to do it, if they still don't want to, comply with that, then sure, you go to court to evict the tenant. But the point being, you don't have to chase them for something signed. If they sign, great. If they don't sign, it automatically goes into effect. And then you also put part of this that they have to give you a certain amount of notice, such as 30 days. They have to confirm to you that they don't want to accept within 30 days. So this way you can start planning for remarketing the property. Like, if they give you express provision, hey, I'm not going to accept these new terms, then you can start marketing and showing the property, which also brings in a good point. You should have something in your lease for allowing you to show the property to prospective tenants. To recap, this video covered how to structure the renewal process at the end of the term of residential lease, how it should be structured, what are the consequences of not structuring it. If you want to get our firm's preferred language of how to structure these clauses, sign up for the Real Estate Law newsletter, your source for real estate legal news.